I think he said that, right? He said it pushed him down some steps.
Right.
But sometimes I'll be like, 50, you on a whole nother level where you don't have to respond.
You don't have to respond to
to
everything.
certain people or
Right.
say certain things, like Meech or Little Meech,
Right.
or Ross or Dave Blunts, because these guys are not doing what you're doing. They're not going on tour. They can't even. Some of these guys can't even. Let's keep it real. Can't make it to these.
Sean Diddy Combs, once hip-hop's untouchable king, is now rotting in federal prison while his son's alleged yacht assault threatens to sink the entire family empire. And 50 Cent's doc is exposing it all. We've seen mogul fall before, but never like this. The man who built Bad Boy Records into a cultural juggernaut, who turned Kira Rock into a status symbol, who threw the most exclusive gatherings in music history, is now inmate number 112345 at Fort Dix, serving a 50-month sentence for transportation-related offenses. And as if that weren't enough, newly surfaced footage from the days before his arrest, footage he allegedly filmed himself, paints a desperate picture of a man scrambling to control the narrative, whispering to lawyers about the dirtiest of dirty business while his world crumbled around him. But here's music, the twist. While Diddy fights for his freedom from behind bars, his son Christian, known as King Combs, is now facing his own explosive lawsuit over an alleged assault on a luxury yacht, dragging the family name from opulent decks to courtroom chaos. And 50 Cent's Netflix documentary Sean Combs, The Music, Reckoning, isn't just chronicling the fall. It's pouring gasoline on the fire, with insiders claiming this is only the beginning. Now, we should say that Remember Diddy Music and his team were very upset when they found out that this footage was part of the Music documentary, and they tried to shut it down, but you know that the act of taping it is what is so awful. Taping it right without would say that, Music, I didn't authorize that video going out, and the argument they've made is that he's the one who has the right, that he owns that. We've all seen the headlines, but the raw footage is what's sending shockwaves through the industry. In the days before his September 2024 arrest, Diddy was reportedly filming himself in a last-ditch effort to shape his legacy, unaware that those same clips would become the centerpiece of a documentary he now calls a shameful hit piece. The footage, obtained by Netflix despite Diddy's claims it was music stolen, shows in a hotel room pleading with his attorney Mark Agnifilo to take a more aggressive media strategy. "We have to find somebody that'll work with us, Music," he's heard saying. "It has to be somebody that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business of media and propaganda." Those words, spoken just 6 days before federal agents closed in, now sound like a confession, not of guilt, but of panic. A man who once controlled the narrative was suddenly realizing he'd lost the script. And the irony, the documentary's director, Alexandria Stapleton, insists the footage was obtained legally, while Diddy's team fires back, calling it a fundamentally unfair breach of privacy. But the damage is done. The public has seen behind the curtain. And what they're witnessing isn't just a legal battle. It's the unraveling of a dynasty. But the reality is, Mark Agno, the person with whom he was speaking, actually won the case for him. This is a huge betrayal. "Look, Agnifo, there is no way he isn't," Music, outraged that Diddy was secretly recording him, and this ends up in this Netflix document. Meanwhile, the fallout isn't confined to Diddy's prison cell. His son, Christian, the heir apparent to the Combs empire, is now embroiled in a lawsuit that reads like a tabloid nightmare. According to court documents, a woman identified only as Jane Doe alleges that in 2017, Christian lured her to Los Angeles under the promise of a television job, only to hold her captive in a Beverly Hills mansion where she claimed she was assaulted by Christian and 2 other masked men, one of whom she believed to be Diddy himself. The lawsuit describes a weekend of coercion, substances, and what she calls a brutal ordeal that left her traumatized. Christian's legal team has denied the allegations, but the timing couldn't be worse. With Diddy already facing a tidal wave of civil suits, over 100 accusers and counting, this new case isn't just another lawsuit. Music, it's a pattern. And patterns, as we've learned from the documentary's juror interviews, are what sink empires. The jurors from Diddy's criminal trial have spoken out in the Netflix series, and their words are chilling. There is a partial verdict in the Diddy case after 2 days. The jury has reached unanimous decisions on 4 of the 5 counts. The problem is that 5th count means that we don't get to find out what the verdicts are on the other 4 because they are hung up on. One juror admitted that when the split verdict was reached, guilty on 2 counts of transportation, but acquitted on racketeering and human trafficking. Their first, music, thought was they knew the public would be outraged. Another juror confessed they struggled with the dynamics of Diddy's relationship with Cassie Ventura, questioning why she stayed with him despite the alleged abuse. It was 2 people in love, they music said, as if that could explain away the hotel hallway footage that showed Diddy assaulting her in 2016. But love doesn't erase bruises, and jurors don't decide morality, they decide guilt. And while Diddy walked free on the most serious charges, the documentary makes one thing clear. The court of public opinion has already rendered its verdict. The question now is whether his son's legal troubles will be the final nail in the coffin that he has with others. Music, and just because no one else has been charged, which normally in a RICO case you would have others charged. It was a statute that designed to get mob bosses trying to get at criminal behavior that's like in a web of criminal behavior that you can't necessarily prove like the one thing, or the statute of limitations expired on the other thing. But you're just showing this bad guy who's operating what's clearly an enterprise that over and over engages in criminal problems or criminal acts. But let's rewind, because the roots of this downfall go deeper than a single trial or lawsuit. The documentary doesn't just focus on the assault allegations. It digs into Diddy's past, from the 1991 stampede at a Bad Boy-sponsored event that left 9 people deceased to claims that he bribed a driver to take the fall for a shooting in 1995. It revisits the long-standing rumors about his involvement in Shocker's case, with former gang member Dwayne "Keffy D. Davis alleging in police interviews that Diddy offered him $1 million for a hit on the rapper. Davis is set to stand to trial for Shocker's case in 2026. And while Diddy has always denied any involvement, the documentary frames these allegations as part of a larger pattern. A man who operated above the law for decades until the law finally caught up. And now, with Christian facing his own legal storm, the Combs name is no longer synonymous with power. It's a warning. The financial stakes couldn't be higher. Diddy's empire, once valued at nearly $1 billion, is now a battleground. And I think when it came to it's not just the more serious charges, but it's the more complex charges where the jury, in order to, for instance, find guilt on the racketeering charge, was going to have to find not just that Sean Combs had kicked his girlfriend, had beat people up, had engaged in truly abhorrent behavior, but that he ran a criminal. His mother, Music, Janice Combs, and his son, Christian, are reportedly locked in a full-on showdown over control of the remaining assets. With insiders describing it as a real-life Godfather situation, Janice, who's always been a stabilizing force in Diddy's life, believes she's the best person to steer the ship. But Christian, now 26, isn't backing down. Sources say he's determined to take the reins, even as his own legal troubles mount. And with Diddy's business partners distancing themselves, Dejo cut ties with Ciro earlier this year. The family fortune is shrinking fast. The question isn't just who will control what's left. It's whether there will be anything left to control. Then there's the 50 Cent factor. The rapper-turned-mogul has never hidden his disdain for Diddy. And his involvement in the documentary isn't just personal, it's strategic. Because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, Music, and that is definitely not. In interviews, 50 has framed his role as a necessity, arguing that if he stayed silent, the public might assume hip-hop was complicit in Diddy's alleged behavior. If I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as that hip-hop is fine with his behaviors, he told Good Morning America. But let's be real, this isn't just about morality. It's about legacy. 50 Cent has spent years positioning himself as the anti-DY, the self-made entrepreneur who didn't need to play the industry's shadowy games. And now, with Diddy behind bars and his son facing allegations that mirror the father's, 50's documentary isn't just to tell all music, it's a power move. The question is, who benefits more from Diddy's downfall? The accuser seeking justice or the rivals waiting to claim his throne? But as the documentary's final frames fade to black, one thing becomes painfully clear. This story is far from over. The federal investigation into Diddy's alleged activities is still active, with sources telling NBC News that agents are looking into